Welcome to the OCLRE Mentor Hangout. This is our first hangout and our topic is mock trial. It's happening, what do we do? We're going to be pretty casual today, ask a couple of our favorite advisors what they would be doing with their team here in the fall. With us today, I have Suzanne Pfeiffer, who's an advisor with the Columbus School for Girls, and Annie Yannick, who is an advisor with Reading School District. You both have been involved for a few years, but different amounts of time. Andy, how long have you been running your mock trial team?
Let's see, 96, 97 was my first year.
Wow.
So it's been 20 years or so.
Great. And Suzanne, how long have you been advisor?
This is my 5th year advising the mock trial team.
Super. So we have two different points of view here. I'm wondering, at this time of year, you've gotten your manual, the case file, you've handed it out to the kids, or they've, followed you down the hallway and said, where is it? Where is it? What is the first thing you normally do? Is it that you just hand it out to everyone, say, go for it, read it, come back, and we'll get together? What are those first steps? Suzanne, can I start with you?
So we started meeting before we even got the case. We did kind of a little, just a mock trial session. We did a completely different trial that we made up just to try to get our mock trial skills, do some team building. So by the time we got the case, we'd already had 3 or 4 meetings. And we basically started, we first started with witness statements. And then we started by making some opening statements, closing statements. So we started kind of broadly, and now we have just assigned teams last week.
Great. Andy, what about you? What's that first step you do with the case file?
I'm in somewhat of a unique position as I have a mock trial class. So the very first thing I do actually is I assign summer work before they even show up. And there's 2 different types of assignments. I give an assignment for the new kids coming in to watch the state championship from the previous year and answer some questions just to get an understanding of what mock trial is all about. And then the veterans have to help go about planning on how to teach the different aspects of the mock trial, rules of evidence, opening statements, so on and so forth. And then in the class, the very first month or so, we do a lot of different exercises that get the kids feel comfortable to get up in front of the classroom, to debate, to speak, to do some dramatic renditions of various things. And then they slowly but surely start learning the rules of evidence from the veterans. And we do a lot of quizzes along the way, so we're well on our way to starting. And we also have basically the sides lined up. Not only have one team this year, it's going to be a young team, but both sides are lined up and ready to roll.
Great. So you both, now Suzanne, again, just confirming, you do yours as an after school or a co-curricular?
Correct.
Extracurricular activity. So you both have a different approach to bringing your teams together. Andy, obviously you get to see them on a day-to-day basis, but you both did mention doing some exercises, some team building. Can you share maybe each of you one of your favorite exercises, whether it's a team building or an actual dramatic kind of, role playing that you do to kind of get the kids in the spirit of working together on mock trial? How about Andy, you go ahead and continue.
Well, one of the first things I do is, and I totally stole this. Most of the things that I do, I've stolen from other advisors in the past. But Lori Eiler, years and years ago, when I came to my first workshop, did the nosy neighbor thing. And I'm sure a lot of mock trial advisors are familiar with that, where the kids learn very quickly, like in the first week of school, rules of evidence, how to write directs, how to write crosses, and they do analyze a witness statement and then dive right in. And then the various exercises I've done is just random debate topics we pull out of a hat. Fairy tale readings dramatic readings of different fairy tales. I have a big fairy tale book on the podium and call the kids up at random, and they have to read a 1 minute excerpt of fairy tale and do it dramatically. And Things like that.
Great. And Suzanne, how about you?
Same thing as Andy. What we use has largely been stolen or gleaned from mock trial conferences in the past. But we start with like 1-minute debate throwdowns, peanut butter versus jelly, dogs versus cats, Spider-Man versus Superman, that kind of thing. And then at our first kind of meeting that we have, we do a mock trial where this year we put on it was the big bad wolf, poor BB Wolf. And so we had characters and we let the kids kind of really flesh out the witness statements and work on that. So we do sometimes dramatic readings from popular movie speeches or historical speeches to really get them comfortable and projecting and thinking about public speaking skills.
Great. As you're assigning your roles, or I suppose before you even get to that point, what process do you use to assign the roles? Are you doing competitions, tryouts? Are you know, is it just whoever wants to do it? Suzanne, how does your team define which person is doing the role?
This year we have 18 girls, and we will be dividing into 3 teams. So we are watching how they're working, their kind of ability to get things done, their level of commitment to the team, their attendance. We also poll them, what are they interested in playing, and try to, who's got the most experience, and we try to make a balance of taking kind of their feedback and also the role that we think they'll flourish in on the team. So we've also kind of withheld the right, we're going to use this for our first scrimmage on the 19th. And we may make some changes after that. So it's not set in stone.
Gotcha. So you do inter squad scrimmages within your
We'll do an inter squad scrimmage on the 12th, and then we will we're going to play another high school on the 19th.
Great. Now, just because I don't actually know, how, when you do an inter squad scrimmage or an intra squad scrimmage, who are you bringing in to be are you having presiding judges? Are you fielding a panel of judges and that just volunteer? How are you choosing those people?
Usually, they may be moms and dads of students on the team. My stepdad was a judge in Licking County for 30 years who's judged mock trial. So usually it's friends of the school. We do one out in Licking County where the magistrate agreed to be the judge. So someone who's not quite as biased
Right.
for the team. But yeah, usually it's parent attorneys and friends of our team.
Drawing on your closest resources.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. And Andy, what about you? How do you choose roles? How does your team choose roles? And
a lot of that is ultimately left up to the team captains, in collaboration, of course, with the rest of the kids. We have a pretty good sense already who wants to be an attorney and who's really going to be able to handle that aspect of mock trial and who the witnesses are and things like that. And then, but at the same time, we also leave it up to the kids. Are you up for a challenge? Are you willing to commit yourself to doing one particular role over the other? And then we kind of let that play out through the course of the next month or so. I think usually we'll have a good sense of who's going to be doing what, and we also do not keep anything etched in stone. We change things. I've changed witnesses on the eve of a state competition before. So,
wow.
So it depends on the commitment has to be there throughout the entire season, and ultimately that's what we look for and kind of let things fall into place.
You mentioned you're fielding one team this year, a younger team. Do you do scrimmages with any of the local schools? Oh
yeah, I think that is the single most valuable thing that we do. Between the University of Cincinnati Invitational and the Miami Mock Hawk, which are both very competitive scrimmages, we probably scrimmage I'd say 10 times before the district competition. Not only with each other, against other schools. And we usually, whoever hosts provides the role of a judge. So it's either my legal advisor or whoever we're scrimmaging against. I'll provide a judge. But I think that gives the kids the advantage of seeing multiple different scenarios that can come up in any single mock trial. And I really do believe that is the single most important thing that you can do. Set your scrimmages up and do them like Suzanne has. Do them now. Get them set up now.
Great. When you're working with your students and you're in a school-based setting, or even outside of a school-based setting, can you explain to me some of the people that you count on to help out with your team? And I know legal advisors, and I'd love to know how you use your legal advisor, but also any other personnel you bring in to help with the team. Andy, what can you add?
For the most part, really, it's myself and my legal advisor, who was a former student of mine, who was on my mock trial team for 4 years. Every now and then, last year, a lot of statistical analysis, so we brought in a math teacher to go over some of the statistics and things like that, but we don't have the resources that I know some schools that have drama or acting coaches and things like that. We don't have those kinds of resources, but former advisors of mock trial will come in and just get a second eye on the competition and watch scrimmages and give us some feedback on that. But pretty much it's just my legal advisor and I by our lonesome.
And then how do you and the legal advisor define your duties or your role in the management of the team?
Well, we were hoping to have like a good cop, bad cop type scenario, but unfortunately we're two bad cops. But no, we pretty much, one great thing about having a former student, and I know a lot of schools, or at least some schools, that they insist that if you're going to be part of the mock trial program, you have to be a former member or a parent. I think that really helps out a lot when you can do that, because you all seem to be kind of on the same page. If you have 2 or 3 different legal advisors advising the same team, oftentimes you'll get 2 or 3 different opinions on any given thing that happens. But in terms of the role, it's pretty neat to see now that my former student, who's a criminal defense attorney, now all of a sudden she takes on much more of the legal analysis, which I used to often do on my own, but we still kind of equally do everything, except she's a lot smarter than I am. So.
Great. Okay, and Suzanne, what about you with other personnel? Do you have a legal advisor?
We do. We've got 2 legal advisors, Bill Pullman, who's been our legal advisor for 5 years, and Monica Dorman, who's been our legal advisor for 4 years. And I think we worked together at the beginning to kind of lay out kind of the flow of the season, kind of the unit topics that we're going to cover. We worked together to think about our kind of mock trial retreats. And then I think for the most part, they kind of handle what happens during practice. And they're really working with the kids. The kids are responsible for developing their arguments, their analysis. We brought in the drama teacher, our theater teacher, before. So we have reached out when it's appropriate to other faculty at CSG to take a look at things, to give us another fresh perspective. Again, we rely on parents a lot, but mostly my colleague Frank O'Grady helps out from time to time, but mostly it's the advisors and the legal advisors.
Great.
Yeah.
So you're both very seasoned in running these programs, but maybe please take a step back and try and remember what it was like that first year that you had mock trial. Were you coming in after someone who had a program and being the next step in that development, or was this totally new to your school? And what were your initial feelings about running mock trial? Suzanne?
I started the program here at CSG, so we had never had it before. No one came before me. And it was a particularly rough winter. We had a ton of snow days. days that we were supposed to meet on Sundays. Our scrimmage that we had planned for Martin Luther King Day was all canceled. And so we really went into that first competition not nearly well prepared enough. But what was important to me is that the kids were engaged. It had really been a partnership between myself and two seniors that said, we really need to bring this program to CSG. We'd really benefit from it. And we got really crushed at districts. I mean, we just got creamed. But it didn't dampen their spirits. It really didn't. And they came back hungry the next year. And the next year we had a team that went to states. So we learned a lot that first year, and we took it as a learning experience.
Great.
Yeah.
And Andy, what about you? Think back. What was it?
Wow, that was a long time ago, but I remember that year very well. I was gung-ho after Lori's first meeting. You know, she instilled so much confidence in the teachers in that room that you can do this. And I was always interested in law. I was going to go to law school and change my mind at the 11th hour. And so I was gung-ho, and then we got the case, and I said to myself, holy cow, what did we just get ourselves into? But then I called for a meeting, and I had five young ladies show up, and I told them, hey, listen, we're going to learn about the law, hopefully have some fun, and go out there and you know, hopefully we don't screw up too bad and we don't embarrass ourselves, and let's have some fun. And had a good friend of mine who I used to wait tables with back in the day, who was a lawyer at the time. He became our legal advisor, and we went to our very first competition, and thought we did very well. And when they called out the winner, it was our school, and we were absolutely shocked. Back then, we moved straight from the district championships straight into state. So our very first year we made it to state, just solidified that confidence among the kids and myself to continue on with the program. So
along that line, what do you know now about the whole process of putting together your team from, you know, summer through the state competition? What do you know now that you wish someone had told you before you opened up the first case file?
Well, I think you have to have the realization that things eventually get very tough, and things don't exactly go exactly the way you might plan or expect, and just to kind of roll with it. Now Lori did tell us that in the very first day, roll with the punches, but that was more in line of when you get your scores back to, you know, when the kids see that maybe they didn't score what they thought they should have scored. But I think, you know, just the understanding that things can get sloppy and things can get tough, and to remember that we're dealing with high school kids, and they can make mistakes, and just to kind of roll with it and learn from that mistake and move forward.
Right. Suzanne?
Yeah, I think that idea of being flexible, you know, you have judges who are different. You're playing all kinds of different teams. To remain positive, to focus on the accomplishments that the girls have had, that the tremendous amount of learning that happens in mock trial, their growth as kind of a student, as a public speaker, all these skills that they develop, it's really incredibly valuable beyond how you do at a competition. Because sometimes you have a great team that you think these kids really have what it takes, and you know, it doesn't work out the way you hoped, but not to get dissuaded by that, because it's a great experience, just even despite that, even though you always hope that they do extremely well.
So as we start to wind down our hangout, let me ask you, what is just a really great highlight that you have for yourself personally with your mock trial team, and experience that you thought, this was exactly why I do this? Suzanne?
I mean, every time I see them in court and we think about all the hours and all the months we've been working on that, I could fall out of my chair because I'm so proud. But last year we had our first graduating set of seniors that they had done the program the first group that had done the program since they were freshmen at CSG. And they made it to the Elite Eight at States. And to have that kind of accomplishment, hugging and crying, to see how proud they were and how much this experience meant to them. One student I had who really excelled across the board in a variety of activities at CSG. She's now at Harvard. She said that mock trial was the single most beneficial thing that she did when she was at our school. That makes me proud.
Great.
Yeah.
And Andy, how about you?
We've been very, very fortunate. We've made it to the Final Four a couple times, the Elite Eight once, and you know, those were great moments. But my favorite moment was a couple of years back when I kind of levied a warning to my A team, my experienced team, that the B team was catching up to them, and they kind of, you know, they were kind of confident and maybe perhaps a little overconfident. And I said, just keep it up. This other team's going to catch you guys. And lo and behold, at the district championship, they announced the district runner-up, and it was my A team, the veterans. And then they announced the district champ right afterwards, and it was my newbies, my rookies, and there were brothers and sisters on the two different teams. And so the freshmen had some bragging rights on their junior and senior brothers and sisters because they were district champs that year. And the other group was just the runners up. So that was a pretty awesome moment.
That is a good moment. Hey, thank you both so much for joining us today, Suzanne and Andy. Really, your passion and your enthusiasm for the kids and the mock trial program shows through, and I have no doubt that that's what makes your team so successful, because you're able to lead in a positive direction. For anyone watching, if you'd like to ask another question, you can certainly contact me at OCLRE. My email address is cburford@oclre.org, or you can reach me by phone at 614-485-3507. Thanks all for watching, and again, thank you, Suzanne and Andy.
Thank you.
No problem. Thank you.